Hello, General Biology. This is Food Web's Part 3, the 10% rule. And here we're not just going to talk about energy transfers, we're going to give some numbers and talk about what happens and the amounts of energy that get transferred. So let's begin. Our ecosystem gets energy primarily from the sun. The sun is providing radiant energy to our producers who are conducting photosynthesis and converting the radiant energy into chemical energy. Now, why do they do that? Well, they need that chemical energy to help run their bodies. And when they run their bodies, 90% of the chemical energy is transferred to the environment as heat and motion, and only 10% of it stays in molecules in their body as chemical energy. So let's pretend that they get 10,000 calories. A calorie is a unit of energy. There's lots of different ways to measure energy. It is only one of many possible units. But let's say they have 10,000 calories of energy that they get as radiant energy from the sun. And then they convert that to chemical energy. 90% of the chemical energy, 9,000 calories, are transferred as heat and motion to the environment as they run their body. Whereas only 1,000 calories are stored in their body. So when the krill and the clams eat their bodies, the krill and the clams are going to get 10% of the original 10,000 calories. They're only going to get 1,000 calories to use. So the krill eat the producers and they get that 1,000 calorie. Well, then they have to run their body with that energy, and they spend 900 calories, 90% of it, to run their body, and it leaves their body as heat and motion, which means that in their body remaining is 100 calories that they use to build their body. And when the fish eat them, the fish do the same thing. They spend 90% of the energy they get as heat and motion, so that's 90 calories that they're spending back out into the environment, and they only have 10% of it, or 10 calories of the 100 calories, to run their body. Well, then the squid eat the fish, and they get those 10 calories, that 10% of the prior energy, but they have to spend 90% of it to run their body. So they spend 9 calories back into the environment, and then only 1% is left in their squid, so the penguins only get 1% of that original 10,000 calorie when they eat the squid. And they too are going to use that one calorie heat and motion, so it's going to go. So what does that mean for us? Well, let's review. The sun provides radiant energy to producers. The producers convert the radiant energy to chemical energy by making glucose during photosynthesis. When the plant uses the chemical energy to run its cells or body, 90% of the energy is transferred to the environment as heat and motion. The remaining 10% of the chemical energy stays in the molecules of its body, but it is transferred to consumers when eaten. Now, the consumers are like producers. 90% of what they get is transferred as heat and motion when they use it to run their cells of their body, but 10% gets stored in their body. So the big point about this is that there are fewer animals, fewer organisms, as we move up the trophic levels, because there's less energy available to run their bodies. Because at each level, most of the energy is transferring to the environment as heat and motion, and less transfers to the higher trophic level. If we go back to our image, we have 10,000 calories available to build all kinds of producers, but we only have 1,000, a tenth of that, 10% of it, available to help build all of our primary consumers. And we only have a tenth of that, 10%, to help build our secondary consumers, and a tenth of that to help build our tertiary consumers, and a tenth of that to build our primary consumers. So there are fewer organisms at each trophic level because there's less energy available for them to run their bodies, because 90% is transferred to the environment as heat and motion at each trophic level. I hope this helps. Struggle well.